Peter, welcome to Easy Conversations. Thank you for joining me today. Really excited to chat with you. We've had a brief conversation, lots to talk about. Really excited to learn more about your journey, what's brought you here in the current chapter of your life, but even how you've been able to look at building businesses from a different lens. But I think a lot of it came from your personal exploration and some of the I guess some of the experiences you have gone through have shaped your approach to a business. And I'm sure we'll get into all of that. But before we do, I do want to give you an opportunity to share with the listeners a little bit about yourself and what's brought you here today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here. Yeah. So, listen, I'm a father of five, live in Los Angeles, started a couple companies. One of the companies is a company called Tiger Media, which we grew to a huge exit. I have a new company called EvolveWell, which is a platform, AI platform for coaches and therapists. And throughout this journey, I went through my own kind of spiritual awakening and just personal growth. And it's just become such a major part of my life. And yeah, it's really shaped exactly how I do things now, from
Yeah.
business to life to fatherhood. So yeah,
Yeah. No,
it's
that's
been cool.
great for sure. And one of the things we touched on, and it's part of your story, is recognizing a lot of the external metrics don't matter. Are you able to walk us through, and I know we're jumping right into it here,
Yeah.
walk us through what that experience was like? So you talked about Tiger Media, growing it to a pretty significant size and then exiting. Where did that shift happen for you, even though you were able to orchestrate a successful exit?
Yeah. So the shift happened like halfway through the Tiger experience. I had lived my life in deep control. Like, dude, I was the master of the universe. If anything was going to happen, I was going to be the reason why. And I realized during the spiritual experience I had in Brazil, it was during COVID and my wife was having challenge with alcohol. Never drank before and then started drinking. And we went down to Brazil to do plant medicine in order to get off the alcohol for her.
Yeah.
And I wasn't planning on doing it, but there was so much preparation you had to do in order to do this. This was iboga, which is just crazy. It's like
Yeah.
this 24-hour experience. And I did a temescal in preparation, which is a sweat lodge. And this was hot, dude. It was dangerously hot. And I had a spiritual experience where I saw this Native American who came to me and just showed me how fear had run my life
Mm.
and control. And that was the awakening. And then I ended up doing the plant medicine, even though I wasn't going to do it. And that just opened my eyes even bigger. And then I went on this journey of personal growth and personal development. And during this time, I grew Tagger to this big thing. We had offices all around the world, and we eventually sold it to Sprout Social for 140 million, all cash, which is absurd. It was awesome. But what I found is when I sold the company, I fell into a deep depression because what I thought I would get from that sale, I didn't get it, which is just, so that was part of the journey. And then it continues, man. Every day is just like a trip on the mattress. You're always just
Yeah.
learning more and going deeper and deeper.
For sure. Yeah, and I think in a way, I'm grateful for having those experiences where you realize whatever you're chasing externally isn't fulfilling. Actually, I was talking to a buddy of mine. We went for a hike yesterday, and both of us have had similar experiences. We started working together in a corporate environment. Both were very ambitious and chasing titles. And then at some point,
Yeah.
through different experiences, we realized that there was no meaning behind it. But then we were talking about a lot of our peers who we were growing up with. And I was just asking him, like, how do you come to this point where you realize that none of this matters? What matters is how you feel inside and what you're doing in terms of your purpose, right? And you can
Mhm.
define your purpose differently. The point I'm trying to get to is, on the surface, you can argue you've got all the success, right? You've got a family, you've got kids, you've got success through your exit. And sometimes you can deceive yourself and say, yeah, things are great. Like, why would I want to change anything? Were you struggling with that at times? Like, how did you navigate that? Because the reason why I also bring this up is, even as I've transitioned into a different career, there were at times a lot of moments of doubt and looking at, am I leaving this comfortable? So yeah, just want to get your thoughts around that.
Yeah, listen, I didn't know there was another option my whole life. Like I just thought that my reality was my reality and I was stuck in it. And it's all about contrast. I didn't know how bad it was until I saw the other side. And
Yeah.
there was that moment in the Temescal, then plant medicine, then other journeys I went on. I literally went to the far ends of the earth to go deep inside myself, sat in a cave for days in complete darkness. But you don't know it until something happens. And I think there's a great example. I lived in the Palisades, and the Palisades burned down to the ground. And people had to move, their lives were disrupted. And a lot of people called me up and were like, dude, it's not working anymore. I'm
Mm.
like, it's not working. Just, it's not, I'm not finding happiness anymore. Going to the club every night, getting drunk and all that stuff. And you need this existential crisis sometimes in order to see the contrast or see how miserable you are. And listen, if you're not miserable enough, great, dude. Keep crushing it. And if you're happy, fantastic. I'm like so excited for you. But you need that contrast. And my only advice to people is, dude, stop doing what you're doing. Just get out of your comfort zone for a minute. Because when you go deep into your discomfort, that's where your life lessons are. And
Mm.
we run from discomfort. And my whole life, dude, I just run towards discomfort. I'm just, if something makes me uncomfortable, I'm there living and breathing it as much as I possibly can. But we don't do that as a society. So, that's my advice. And yeah, it's just, listen, you don't know what you don't know. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's fantastic. Enjoy everything you're doing, great. But there is another opportunity to not be on the hamster wheel.
Yeah. Yeah. And you
Yeah.
talked about how most of your life was based around fear. Are you able to expand on that? What was that fear? Like, I know for a lot of people, even with the fear, there's an aspect of shame around failure, not feeling good enough. But
Yeah.
what was it like for you, and what were you running from?
Yeah. First of all, vulnerability is not something I could ever even touch on. Like my wife, I'd been married for 20 years. She had never seen me cry. Like the idea of telling someone I was jealous or that I was anything other than stoic and strong was like death to me. Like I couldn't even go there. And, what happens is fear had just run my life everywhere. The whole thing was fear. And from the outside, it looked like I was chasing success. The reality is I was running from the fear of not being great enough. I had a really successful grandfather. He was like this, I had this huge company. It was just, and everyone in our family chased him. But I chased him probably more than anyone else. When I was a little kid, I wanted to be like this international business person. How it's so weird and funny. But I put all my self worth in my success. That was it. And yeah, so what do? You then make decisions out of fear because I'm coming from lack. Anytime that you're making any decision in life out of fear, that's from a place of lack. Okay. Whereas if you make it out of love, that's coming from a place of abundance. And everything in my life, from how I raised my kids to my relationship with my wife to my business, everything was based on fear of
Yeah.
failure.
And it's
Yeah.
a big shift when you go from that scarcity mindset to abundance, right? Then you realize there's so much more. And it's
Yeah.
often what I've come to realize, it's not even the monetary side of abundance, right? There's way more in terms of the relationships you build, the connections you have, and the opportunities to make a difference. That alone can be from a place of abundance. And sometimes we put ourselves up in a box and limit our own growth when we're operating from fear, right? As much as we're
Yeah.
trying to control the environment.
Yeah, yeah. Like you, first of all, every guy, every person they have an element of control within them.
Yeah.
That's a part of them. And what is the control protecting? It's protecting this vulnerable side that's afraid, right? Afraid of failure, afraid of the unknown. And so we try to control things in order to feel safe. And that's what I did. That's what a lot of people do. But I feel like it's hard for me to stand up here and say this stuff because I know a lot of people are like, dude, you had a big exit. Of
Yes.
course you feel that way. I'm like, yes, of course, dude. I learned my life lesson. So I'm not saying, trust me, just think the other way and just trust what I'm saying. No, dude, do your life lesson, chase it, go after it, get that thing, and then see for yourself, does it meet your needs? Is there something else that's missing?
Mm.
Because you can't take away someone's life lessons. That's why we're here, is to find our life
Yeah.
lessons. Yeah, whether it's my kids or anyone, dude, I'm never trying to take their life lessons from them.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to open their eyes to maybe another perspective that's out there.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I think that's the beauty of life, is we're all meant to go through these different experiences to draw the lessons that we're meant to learn for our individual growth. And with that being said, I know a lot of this started for you in terms of supporting your wife. One of the things we talked about previously was how going through these experiences has even strengthened the connection you have with your wife. Are you able to see that in terms of helping her on her journey, but then also finding your own and how that's helped your relationship?
Yeah, it's been beautiful. Listen, when someone is at their lowest, man, they are on the brink of something extraordinary. Our greatest transformations happen when we are stretched beyond our limits.
Yeah.
And when you go through that with someone that you love, like your wife or your partner, dude, witnessing that transformation in someone else is the most intoxicating, most rewarding thing you'll ever see in this human experience. I mean, get chills thinking about it. And
Yeah.
so we are constantly looking at our identities and reevaluating who we are and how that identity is limiting us so that we can break through, expand ourselves. And when you do that together, man, oh my God, it's amazing. It's just, we go on retreats together and we meditate together. We do breath work. We're not this weird couple that just are always together. We live very separate lives in the sense that I support her growth and she supports mine. But it's a beautiful union. But like we were on this retreat. We went on Joe Dispenza retreat, which is like 1,500 people. It's a week long. And there's a point where you're meditating for 5 hours, right? And you're shoulder to shoulder with all these people. And it's very challenging. And I had this moment, we talked about like this human experience. I had this moment where I had reached my end of suffering. I couldn't stand it anymore. And I had a spiritual experience where I left the room and I was standing in front of the source of everything. And I'm asking all the questions of the universe. And it was a beautiful experience. And she's like, do you want to feel all the pain in the world? I'm like, yeah. And it was like she tapped me on my head and I felt all the pain in the world and I'm bawling, crying. And in the midst of all this stuff, I just feel this hand on my back and it's my wife. And I'm like, oh my God, even in the darkest of places, dude, there's love. And then I had this other, but when I came out of that experience, what I realized was, listen, we're here to feel it all. The pain, the
Yes.
suffering, the joy, the conquest of going after something and doing it, and the failure of going after something and not getting it. That's why we're here, dude. And so I'm just here to experience it all. That's it.
Yeah. I agree. I think having those moments where you experience that unconditional love despite all the suffering you might be experiencing, that's such a beautiful experience because you realize you're not alone, right? And sometimes you
Yes.
have other people on the path with you, or sometimes, like you said, you're connecting to source and you realize even with that, you're not alone, right? There's this
Yes.
power out there, this force that you can tap into and not feel that sense of loneliness as sometimes people do when they're struggling.
Yeah. And that's the key point, though, too. Listen, my wife doesn't make me happy. And my wife doesn't make me sad because I talk to a lot of people and they're like, oh, it sucks because my husband or my wife, they're not on the path. They're doing their thing. And I'm like, what are you looking to get from that person?
Yeah.
That's not love. That's attachment. I'm
Yes.
happy if they do this. Well, that's not love. And so anytime my wife and I, and we fall in these traps, everyone does, we're human beings. We fall in the trap of being like, oh man, I would be so much happier if you could just do this, or if we did this, or,
Yeah.
and that's the sign for us. Okay, reevaluate, hold up the mirror. What's that saying? And oh yeah, I'm down a hole right now. I need to get out of.
No, and I think that's beautiful too, because then you have this other individual who can identify your blind spots. Those are the healthy connections that we all need, that people that are willing to have those tough conversations with us and point out, hey, maybe this is a blind spot, or maybe you're looking at this from the wrong lens, and maybe you need to shift your perspective a little bit here.
Yeah, listen, that's important. It's difficult when it's your spouse, right?
Yes.
Because that can trigger things. And so we have this agreement like, okay, yeah, blame me. Say I'm the reason why I'll give you like 24 hours. And if you haven't held up the mirror to figure out really what is it about yourself or then I'm going to intervene a little bit. I'm just going to be like, okay, let me gently guide you. And so it's a dance. You want to
Yes.
help and support that person and you want to validate how they feel because it's real. Then you want to encourage the mirror to be held up. And if they don't do it. And so we're trying, there are times where back in the day, like years ago, dude, we could have a month where we were just really separate energetically. And now we're just trying to whittle that down to 24 to 48 hours. And that's it. Yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah. And how has that helped your parenting for your children? How are you showing up together as parents?
Yeah, listen, we're still very different people. We're opposites. And that's why it works, right? That's why our souls found each other. We have very different parenting styles. I'm more stern and want to show an example of just this is right and wrong. And she's a little more gives them what they want, which is great because ultimately, and what she taught me is that all kids need to know is that they're loved.
Mhm.
And so I think I raised them as kids the way I was raised, just more, a little more stern, a little more strict. And literally after one of my retreats, I had this really amazing experience about one of my kids. And I came out of that and I'm like, they just need to know they're loved. And that changed everything for me. And that's really what it comes down to. Like,
Mhm.
I see all these parents who are just like helicoptering or they're just, yeah. Listen, the kid feels like a shitbag. They just do. And if you tell them they're a shitbag and they're doing it wrong, just tell them that you love them.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that for sure. You just jumped right into it, but I am curious to talk about your entrepreneurial journey and if you're able to share how you built the businesses as well as your book, Remembering, if you're able to shed
Yeah.
some light around that and what was the inspiration behind writing a book as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So listen, Tagger was the first big exit I had. I had a couple other companies, but nothing as big. And listen, it started as like this idea, like we wanted to take social media and predict whether or not a musical artist would blow up. And we did that just by monitoring people in the music industry. And so if everyone's talking about you, you're probably going to go somewhere. And we realized that I went to New York, pitched this 1,000 times, which was good because I became a pretty good pitcher in that way, but no one wanted it. And then we got this amazing meeting with Gary Vaynerchuk's team over at VaynerMedia. And it was like the universe had just intervened, was like, go there. And so we went there and Gary's team was like, listen, we like your platform, we like your data, but you need to create workflow around influencer marketing. And I was like, yep, we do. Let's do it. And so we had a month to build their workflow. And then once we built that, came back, they were our first customer. They paid us like 10 grand a month for, I don't know, 30 users. We then just went out on a tear to every agency that we could find. And within a few years, dude, we had all the major holding companies as our clients. And agencies are notoriously difficult, right? They have clients that they're reporting to, and it needs to be perfect all the time.
Yeah.
And that's where we really cut our teeth. And then we started to go after brands. And then I knew I wanted to take this company international. And pretty quickly on Dave Dickman, a guy who I knew, we came from the same small town, but we didn't really know each other that well. I was like, dude, come and help me because he ran global sales for Apple and yeah, he was just a beast internationally. And within a year or two, we had offices all around the world. We had resellers on some, but then we took it we had our own offices. And that was incredible. And then we raised some money about 2 years before we exited, which was about 23 million from a VC. And then we sold the company in 2023 in August to Sprout Social, which, dude, people talk about starting a company is so difficult. It's nothing compared to selling a company, especially to a publicly traded company. It was brutal, the worst 5 months of my life. But yeah, then we sold it, man, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
Happy to dive into anything on Tag or anything like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it
I
was a
mean,
journey.
just in general. So
Yeah.
obviously, as you were sharing that, you were pretty open to the feedback you received from Gary V's team there. Why were you so open? And it sounds like you almost knew that was the feedback you were going to get. Yeah. Are you able to
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah. So we ran into the trap that I think a lot of entrepreneurs run into. We had created cool technology, but we weren't solving a problem. And the best companies in the world solve. They don't just create cool things. Like
Mhm.
some companies do. You have to be solving a problem. And when we went to New York and I pitched this thing literally to music industry people and movies and brands, and no one saw anything there. They were just like, and I realized, oh, we're not solving a problem. We just created cool technology. And when Gary's team said, okay, we have a real problem, we're doing influencer marketing for brands all around the world. They were like the leaders at the time, but our technology really is nothing. We're doing it in Excel. I was like, oh, that's a real problem. We already had the social data. We understood audiences. We just had to create workflow, which was super difficult. Like, you got to go find these people, hire them. These are individual people on social media. You got to pay them. You got to report on all their stuff. A lot of work. And we did that, and we did it really simply. And so I knew it wasn't like, how'd you know? Dude, it was like the one person who liked what we did. And I was like, yeah, no question about it. Let's do it. So we were just lucky to even find them. And then I used their name in every pitch after that because they were the leaders in the space,
Right.
and it validated who we were. Yeah.
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 No, that's great. And then
Yeah.
you talked about the whole selling to a publicly traded company, which is a lot more difficult. So are you able to talk about why you said that and what does that mean?
Dude, it was 5 months of just pure torture because, you are selling to a publicly traded company. You have their lawyers, their due diligence team, you have their tech advisors, their tech team. It was just like, so on the first day, so they came to our office and I knew that they wanted to buy us because there was a perfect fit. And within, I think, a week of that meeting, they gave us a term sheet. And then our investment bankers, who were amazing, went back, we negotiated a little bit. That was it. And they were like, we have to close in 6 months.
Yeah.
And our investment bankers were like, no way. And they wanted to do it. So we pushed through. The first day of due diligence, we got 300 line items of stuff that they needed to see. And we were like, this is a lot, but okay, we can manage this.
Yeah.
Day 2, we received 300 more lines. And this went on for weeks. The entire company, our entire company, was all hands on deck working on this due diligence. But we still had a company to run. Yeah. We had customers, we had product, we had all these things. And so it was like 15-hour days for months and months, just trying to get this deal across the table and really not trying to tank our business because we had put everything towards this and innovation slowed. Like everything slows when you're doing this, we only had 100 people at our company. And so ultimately I was like, if this deal doesn't close, we're done. And it's true. We would have gone out of business, I think, because we just threw everything at it. Yeah, it was crazy. But Sprout, to their credit, never changed the price, never changed the terms. They just want to make sure that what they were buying was real. And last thing I'll say about that, I got some amazing advice during that time. I was working with this coach, Greg Lawrence, who's he's a gangster. And he was like, I'm in this room, lawyers, bankers, investors, everyone is just coming at me. And it felt like a personal attack the whole time because they were trying to take money from us essentially. Yeah. And he's, dude, everyone's just doing their problem. And I'm like, what does that mean? They're playing out their childhood conditioning, how they feel about themselves. Everything in their own psychology is playing out in that room. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. And I started seeing that it's all I could see. Yeah. And then I realized nothing's personal. Yeah. And when I was able to go through this process with grace and just awareness of that, dude, I flew through it and just saw what it was and didn't take anything personal, which makes life so much easier.
For sure. I think that's such a powerful reminder because it's so easy, as you're saying, to take things personally. But then when you zoom out a little bit, you're like, oh, yeah, this is all dysfunction that they're bringing in from their past experiences, has nothing to do with me. But it's hard, right? Because you could easily get tangled up in that dysfunction and bring out your own insecurities and past traumas and act them out. But I think that's such a great reminder. Now,
yeah, I mean, what are we? We're mirrors. We're mirrors, right? Like when you interact with someone and someone triggers you, it's not because who they are and they're doing something to you. It's whatever they're doing is triggering something inside of you.
Yes.
That's the mirror. And so it's like when they were trying to take money from me, it just made me look at myself and be like, oh yeah, I still seek external validation. I still feel like a shitbag. And of course these people are trying to take money from me because I'm a shitbag, but they're not. They're just, you're not even someone in their radar. You just happen to be there.
Yeah. And then you realize they're all seeking validation and they've got the same narrative or algorithm running in their head too. So that just,
we're all doing our problem. And the next level of awareness is figuring out what is your problem that you're doing.
Yes.
Because if you don't realize that, then you're just going through life just like they are.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. So talk about the book a little bit. Why Remembering, and what was the motivation or inspiration behind it?
Yeah, dude, I never wanted to write a book. I was like, you couldn't pay me $1 million to sit down and write a book. But our house burned down in the Palisades fire, which was a crazy experience. And I'm glad I did all the work up to that. But people would be like, dude, I'm so sorry about your house. And I felt nothing. Like I literally within 4 hours of our house burning down, I had an architect, a builder, a 2-year lease on a rental. Like I was just in go mode. And my co-founder was like, dude, you might want to try something to feel into that. And he had just done ketamine, which is legal in Santa Monica or in LA. I went to this clinic called Golden Afternoon, and you do 6 sessions. They're about 40 minutes each. And I just saw my entire life through those and all the identities I had built, and how that limited my true potential. And you talk about purpose, finding your true purpose. Because if you're stuck in these identities, like I can't do that because I'm a dad. I can't do that because I'm a business guy. All these different things. just limits to what you can do. And it was just ego death after ego death during these sessions.
Yeah.
And I left that and I just started writing. And I was just writing about my journey in life and business, but really just the journey of remembering the parts of myself that I'd lost, buried, or forgot. And 2 months later, after being in there for 15 hours a day, my family's like, "Where are you?" I came out with this book. I didn't even know it was a book, honestly. And I gave it to my wife, and she's, "Yeah, this is beautiful." And so
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was, yeah,
That's
that's
pretty
it.
cool.
Yeah.
So how do you then work with that? Is it integrating those parts of yourself that you lost along the way? I know for many people, it's, and Carl Jung talks about this too. At times you have to go back to that childlike state and look at everything with awe and curiosity. And that's where the beauty lies. But curious to understand how you've been able to put it all together for yourself.
Yeah, I think for anyone, the first part is just awareness, like being super aware of your parts. Okay. I've worked with therapists and coaches and all this stuff to really understand these parts in me. And these parts in me were created when I was like 8 years old, dude.
Yeah.
And they're still driving my life today, which is so funny. It's like I'm listening to this 8-year-old self. But whenever you have one part of you, and we'll call it, like, for me, it's the man, like the guy who drives and feels nothing when something I should feel something. What is he protecting? He's protecting this vulnerable side of me, this little boy or whatever it is. So the first step is becoming aware of these parts. And when they come in and you're overtaken by them, be aware of it. Know that it's them. It's not you coming in. And when you feel really vulnerable, no, it's that little boy inside of you or the little girl, whatever it is. And then you just have to accept who they are.
Mhm.
Just, oh, there you are, dude. Old friend. Gotcha. I see you want to clean the kitchen right now because your life feels out of control. Fantastic. Good to see you again. And really separate yourself from them. And realize too that the voices in your head, the voices that are like creating these stories and all these different things, dude, they're complete lunatics. And it's, for me, it's all about separating myself from that story. And then it's getting still, dude. It's doing breath work, meditation. That's my practice. I have to do it every day in order to quiet those voices, get down to my true essence, and ask yourself every day, is this decision based off of love or fear? And so that's it. I always say, go back, man. You got to go back to the childhood. I hate to say it. You got to
Yeah.
do. Don't live there, though.
Yes.
Don't live there. Just identify it, realize it, and then you got to move on it and live today. Don't live in the past or the future.
Yeah, no, I think
Yeah.
those are all great nuggets there because, like you said, I think it's important to have that awareness and not get stuck in it, but recognizing that there is powerful information that's coming up, even in that narrative. And then the other
Yeah.
thing around just knowing what you need to continue to be at your best. And those are often non negotiables, right? And I've really taken that to heart in my personal life. I know if I'm not practicing those things daily, it's going to come back and bite me. And sometimes it's easy to get complacent. And I think you just have to hold yourself accountable and recognize why you're doing all of this.
Yeah, every day, dude. For me, I do. Because the minute I'm like, oh, I'm good, I don't need to do that today. It's fine. Everything's fine. But you'll find yourself, I'll find myself in a hole.
Yeah.
And it's taking ownership of that. And yeah, I just feel like everything's about awareness. And you talk about like those parts that come in and those emotions that you have. Dude, those are sacred emotions.
Yes.
Anger, sacred emotion. Like, I love that. Like, when I get angry, dude, that is the universe saying, dude, wake up. There's a boundary that's been crossed. There's something that you need to pay attention to. It's like this giant street sign just flashing in your face. Wake up. And it's okay. Now, what people do is they live in that anger and it metastasizes. And it did it 20 years later, they're still talking about that dude that screwed them over.
Yeah.
And so really what I try to do is I try to alchemize that anger into love, because if you do something to me, yes, I'm going to be pissed. Oh, what a dick. So mad that he did that. But at some point, I'm going to hold up the mirror and be like, okay, what's he really showing me? What's he showing me about myself, how I feel about myself? And then I have so much gratitude for you that you actually held up that mirror so that I can see that's something I still need to work on.
Yes.
And that's how you alchemize these emotions into love. And there are times where, like, you shouldn't. Like, dude, if someone like violates you like horribly bad, yes, dude, you don't need to alchemize that into anything. Be angry. That sucks. Like, work through that. But when it comes to, just your identities and all that stuff, just dude, get over it.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, as I reflected and had similar points of acceptance, I realized all these people on my journey have been teachers. And in the moment, I've labeled the experience as good or bad, but looking back, they were all learning experiences. And I can choose to continue to label them or let them go. And like you said, the alchemy of it too is, are you care, because like you're talking about the emotions or energy that need to be released. So you can make a choice, especially with anger. Do you carry it around in you, or do you transmute it into something positive and powerful? And we could choose love. Sometimes I choose to create with that intensity, right? It's like, how
Yeah.
can I channel this energy into creating something and releasing that anger into something positive? But you're right. If you hang on to it, then the only person that's getting hurt is you.
It's you, dude. I hate to say it, but you are the only sufferer or person who suffers. You make your own suffering. No one's making you suffer. And you talk about this too, like your free will in this world is how you react to situations.
Yes.
That is your free will. I believe that, listen, our souls came here with a purpose
Yes.
to grow, and I think that this is just one of many lifetimes that we have. And I think that you and I made an agreement before we were born that we'd find each other at some place, and maybe you were in the 5th grade and you were a dick to me. And you're like, dude, I feel bad about this, but I'm going to have to do this for you because you have to understand what shame is, or you have to understand what this is. And I'm like, yes, please do that for me because that's why I'm here. I need to learn that. And so just by thinking about it in that way, that's my free will. And you could think, oh no, he's just a horrible person. And there's great, that's your free will.
Yep.
You're going to live in that suffering. And I choose to look at every situation as, yeah, dude, thank you for being a dick. I know that's what we agreed upon. And so, that's a free will. It sounds like you're in the same
Yeah.
mindset as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So how have you then carried all of this into Evolve? And are you able to, I know you shared it's an AI platform, you're helping coaches and therapists, but what again inspired you, and how have you carried all this wisdom into this endeavor?
Yeah. So one of my great teachers is this guy, Rod Newton, and he's like this coach legend up in Ashland, Oregon. And then he introduced me, and he's my wife's uncle as well. And he's helped me through some transformative moments in my life. And my other co-founder, Alex King Harris, is this amazing musician, played with Shaman's Dream and all these, but he's a brilliant business mind as well. And so we came together on this idea because they both coach, we were into the space, but it was like, we don't want to do what I did at Tagger, where it was just like, dude, if you were in my way, I was going to run you over, just plain and simple, because I needed that for my identity of being successful. And now we don't care about that. We don't need that. We're just doing it really in service of other people. And so we do what we do every day within our company. We breathe together as a company 5 days a week for an hour. 2 days a week, we invite customers to come in, friends and family to experience our practice. We go on retreats where literally a company retreat, we will do breathwork and meditation for 5 hours, 6 hours a day. Now, in between that, we'll work, do 20-minute sprints. You've never seen people work so hard in your life when they do that. And then we do like check-ins. I've talked about this a few times. It's so cool. We'll do check-ins where these are mostly men. A lot of them are Serbian because that's where our development team are. These people have never even heard the word emotion before. And so we're doing these check-ins where it's deep and people are talking about challenges that they're having. I feel like an imposter, whatever it is. Or they're talking about conquest, which inspires everyone else to go after their dreams. And so it becomes a mirror for you. And it's beautiful and amazing. And we're helping people grow and see their life lessons. And really, we have this thing called personal growth before profits. And yes, we're doing everything right. But honestly, dude, it's like when you just get aligned with that mission, the universe rains on you. That's what we found. And I wouldn't have believed that back in my Tagger days. I would have been like, you're nuts. Dude, the only reason this thing's successful is because of me. But we've just gotten out of the way and we stopped swimming upstream, which is that's what we do in life. And I don't swim anymore. I just let the current take me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's amazing. So I'm hearing like a huge culture difference as opposed to what you're used to hearing.
Yeah.
So obviously people have bought in. What have you learned by influencing the culture in this way?
It's incredible, dude. Like, first of all, the culture in the company is, I didn't know this was even possible. There is no separation between work and life at our company. We all do what we normally do in our own life. And so the passion that's there is incredible. the brainstorming. Like I get in so many brainstorming sessions in the past at other companies where you always have those people that they'll come out with an idea and they're like, okay, no, let's not do that. Let's do this. And then they sit in the corner and they just pout. And they're like, if you don't like my idea, I'm just going to take my rocks and go home. Okay. Here, it's like, give me an idea and let's just crush it. And let's turn it into this amazing thing. No bad ideas, no good ideas. Just let's create the best thing we possibly can. It makes it so fun. And we come up with the best things. There's no drama. There's no preciousness. It's all about how can we be of service. Every line of code we write, it's to help people. Every sales call we do, it's to help people. Yeah. And it's just been rewarding for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And are you able to talk about more in terms of what the company's doing?
Yeah.
Like how
Yeah.
are you helping coaches and therapists?
Yeah. So what I found is I'm a student of modalities and coaching. I love that. And I find so much truth in that. And I found that I would have a coaching session and then a week or two later, I'd come back to the next coaching session and they're like, what happened? I'm like, what do you mean what happened? I have 5 kids, 3 dogs, a company. My life is nuts. Everything happened. And I really needed a platform to support me between sessions. Okay. Now, with AI, you have the ability to personalize that now, right? And so between my sessions, yes, I can do journaling or whatever they give me. But what if that content was customized directly towards me based off the type of content I want to create, I want to ingest? So I do this about once a month. I do a lot of journaling in AI in our platform. And then I take that and I say, tell me 5 things you know about me that I don't know about myself. And I'll take one of those things and I'll put it into like Notebook LM and I'll make a podcast about me. Just help me work this through in my life and create more awareness for this. Dude, mind blowing, right? And so what did I do? I created content personalized to me and I created content in a way that I wanted to ingest it. Because I look at my kids, they all have different learning skills. You go to school, one way to teach, 50 different kids. That's insane.
Yeah.
And so that's what AI does, is personalizes to exactly who you are and how you want to ingest content. And so that's what we're helping coaches do. And we're helping them bridge the gap between structured learning and human connection. So
yeah. That's pretty
Does that make
cool.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So again, it's like making sure that the modality that the user needs is being catered to in a way. So you're helping coaches model that and then use the platform itself to be able to facilitate that learning experience.
Yeah. And then you have this knowledge graph about this person, right? I'll say things to my coach or therapist and they don't remember half the things I tell them, but they're so intuitive. They just know. They're really incredible people. But what if you had this knowledge graph and it's that fast thinking, slow thinking?
Yep.
We are fast thinkers, right? We just, AI is slow thinking. It can take so much data and see the threads between each things that the human experience just can't really grasp. And that's what it does. So it gives back these deep understandings about the person that they're working with. And that's, to me, where a lot of the gems come out of. That's the 5 things that it knows about me that I don't even know about myself. Yes. And that's where your life lessons are.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing, the platform is really complementary, because a lot of the debates I'm seeing online, because you have both sides of the cap where they're saying AI will replace therapy and coaching. And then you've got obviously people in my line of work where, no, it can't. Therapists will still be needed. But to me, I use AI quite a bit too. And I find it's a great complementary asset. You can either ignore it and run from it, or you can use it and really facilitate your own growth. That I'm hearing your platform's doing too. It doesn't sound like the goal is to replace the coaching and therapy side of things.
No, dude, I have so much reverence for coaching and therapy. I just like beyond. And there's something about saying something to another human being and just getting it out there. And it is so powerful. And really that's our mission, is to propel the human experience, not to replace it at all. So will some people go that route? Yes, of course. I think it's great. If that works for you, fantastic. But for me, it's being with another human being. And listen, AI is getting better and better, but even today, like I see it, my wife and I laugh about this all the time. I'll go through an experience, like I put out my book and someone in my family wrote a review that I didn't think was very good. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And I put it in AI. I'm like, what do you think about this? And they're like, what a fantastic review. And then I was like, that review was horrible. I was triggered. I was like, no. And the AI was like, you are correct. That is a horrible review. I can't. And is it really just mirroring exactly how you feel and think? And that comes down to prompting. Like
Yes.
Alex, my co-founder, is amazing at this, where he'll describe a situation from the other person's perspective to reflect on him. He won't tell him his viewpoint on it. I mean, and it's just, but that's a level of awareness that most people don't have. And
Right.
I don't know. There's a lot of work that needs to happen, I think, with therapy, with AI.
Yeah.
I think there's some actual risks with it. I think you're going to have a lot of divorces during this, seriously, during this time period where AIs, they're only getting a very short part of the whole experience.
Yes.
And they're getting one person's view of, oh, this person's doing this. They're missing everything else because
Mhm.
they're not feeding that data into there. And a lot of times they're like, whoa, you need to get out of that situation, or you
Yeah.
need to. So that's dangerous in my view.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's definitely a level of confirmation bias, and you have to be mindful of that. And it sounds like your co-founder definitely is taking that approach, right? Coming at it from the other side and seeing what you could see. And in terms of just again what we were talking about earlier in terms of our relationships, identifying those blind spots rather than just having someone validate your view. So
Yes.
yeah, it's really important.
Because what do we seek validation? Whenever I come to AI with something and it's not giving me what I want, I'm like, okay, how do I prompt this thing so it tells me what I want to hear? And then eventually you're like, okay, I know what I'm doing. That's so pathetic. But that's the human mind, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, that's great. Peter, I've learned so much from you today, and I really appreciate you coming on here, being vulnerable, and sharing everything. Now, I know we touched on a lot of things, but I do want to give you an opportunity to share any other tidbits or insights that you feel like we haven't touched on today to leave the listeners with as they embark on different aspects of their lives, especially in the entrepreneurial space. I think there's so much focus on that too. And many people are finding liberation in being able to do something or solve problems that they're really interested in and fascinated by. But what can they take from everything you've learned through your time?
Yeah, listen, I think that the main thing is follow your passion. And I went through the Ikigai process, which is finding your life's purpose, the intersection of where you can make money and what you're good at and what the world needs and all that amazing stuff. If you're lost, if you can't really figure out what that is, dude, there's books on this. You can do it through ChatGPT. Go through that process. It's a really cool process. And I just say, listen, have awareness into where you're coming from. Are you coming from lack constantly, all the time? And if you are, dude, there is a way better way to go about this. You are creating your own suffering. Yeah.
Yes.
Whether you like to believe it or not, you are, and it shouldn't be that hard. But and my book's called The Remembering. My website's called Evolve Weird. That's the book's website because when you look back on how we evolved, it's very strange, very weird. Find me on Instagram. Reach out to me. Like I reply to everything and everyone. If you're looking for a path, if you're looking for some advice, dude, just I'll kind of show you what I did and just reach out. I want to hear your story.
Yeah. No, that's really
Yeah,
cool. Thank you for sharing all that, Peter. And I appreciate your time today. It was
of course, man.
great
This
to
is
talk
awesome.
to you and learn about you.
Yeah. Thanks for doing what you're doing, brother. I
Thank
love
you.
these things. You're
Thanks.
killing it. All right.